Hello, I'm Rachel Simon. I'm a Vice President in Finance. I have responsibility for credit and collections. Well, I look for inspiration everywhere, and I'm actually very fortunate that I've had a lot of people that have inspired me, a lot of stories that have inspired me. Probably the most recent story that I could tell has led to the initiative that we call Dine. And what happened there was I was very moved by things that were happening in the community. There were shootings that were happening with the African American community. I've always been very pro-police, and I still am very pro-police, I should say, but I also started to see a different side, that perhaps there were some things happening in the community that I should pay a little bit more attention to. And so then we had the shooting here in Dallas, where we had 5 police officers that were killed, and that affected me equally. And I wasn't really quite sure what to do. And so whenever I'm not really sure exactly what to do, I just try to take a step back and listen and look for inspiration. And so I found inspiration in an unlikely place and went to church. And you're probably thinking, why is that so odd of a place to find inspiration? It's because I've never been to church. I'm Jewish, and I've never been to church. And so my husband and I decided to go to a big church. It was here in Dallas. It's called the Potter's House, and it is helmed by Bishop T.D. Jakes. And it was a very inspirational sermon that he gave. The whole concept of his sermon was expanding your hood. And what he meant by that was expanding your neighborhood. And his whole concept was, if you're only friends with the people that live on your street or the people you went to school with, that no wonder nobody understands each other. And I got to thinking, is my hood big enough? And I talked about it with my husband. I talked about it with the rest of my family, and I decided I needed to do more in this area. And I even thought about here at AT&T that we have all these wonderful ERGs and all of these wonderful employee networks, and what am I the most involved with? The AT&T Woman of Finance. Why? Because I'm a woman and I'm in finance. And so I came in the next morning and I signed up not only to be a member, but to be a mentor with OASIS and also with a couple of others. And it has been a very fulfilling journey. And then, of course, this was in the summer of 2016. And so then 2 months later, Randall Stevenson gave his amazing speech at the ERG conference. And it just tapped into everything that I was starting to feel already about expanding my views and expanding the people that I talk to. And so I didn't know what to do. I felt like Randall was talking directly to me, and he was expecting us to continue this conversation, and I didn't know what to do. And that was in September of 2016. And September went by, October, November, December, January. And finally in January, I was scrolling through social media and I came across a meme. And the meme said something like this. It said, a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, and an atheist walk into a coffee shop, and they talk and laugh and become friends, because that's what happens when you're not a jerk. Except it didn't say jerk, had a different word. And I thought to myself, this meme is the missing link. And so I came into work the next day and I invited 5 colleagues to lunch who are different than me. And I already mentioned that I'm Jewish, and I invited a colleague who's Muslim, and a colleague who's African American, and someone who's gay, and someone who's Latina, and someone who's a Chinese immigrant. And we went to lunch and we just talked and we shared our backgrounds in a way that I've never done in the workplace before. And we knew that we were onto something special. And so we gave it a name. We called it Dine, which stands for Discover Differences, Include One Another, Navigate New Perspectives, and Eat. You can do a din, but a dine is much better when you eat. And I asked them, will you do a lunch? Will you do a lunch? Will you do a lunch? And it has spread all across the company. So it's interesting how I found inspiration in the news. I found inspiration at this church. I found inspiration in Randall's speech. And it's taken me on a very fulfilling journey. Well, mentoring is one of my passions, and if anybody had told me 20 years ago that mentoring would be a passion, I never would have believed it, because I didn't think I had anything to say, didn't think I had anything to contribute. And there's that whole concept of being comfortable in your own skin, and you really don't realize that you are uncomfortable in your skin until one day you wake up and realize that you are comfortable. And so as I've started to find my voice and realize that I do have something to add and something to say, it has become a passion to take my learnings and to give it to others. In fact, I heard a great quote about mentorship, and it says something like this. It says, mentoring is when someone's hindsight becomes another's foresight. And I just love that. That really resonated with me. So I love taking all of my lessons that I've learned and sharing it with others. I mentor many people individually on an individual basis, but I also have found a passion for leading mentoring circles. And of course, I run a mentoring circle for OASIS and also for League and for AT&T Women of Finance, and then I do one for my own group within Credit and Collections. And it's something that I'm so passionate about because I get something out of it too. And that's what I've really discovered is the hidden secret with mentoring is when you find someone that you learn from as well. And those are the best relationships, when I leave a coffee or when I leave a lunch or when I leave a roundtable mentoring session where I have a skip to my step also because I learn from other people's point of view. So mentoring has become something I'm very passionate about. I'm also very passionate about serving the community. I am a Girl Scout leader. I've been a Girl Scout leader for 10 years. My daughter is in 10th grade now, and I have been a Girl Scout leader since first grade, actually. She's been in since kindergarten, but I didn't take over the troop until first grade. And that's been something that's been very fulfilling. I'm also a Sunday school teacher. So I teach Sunday school at our synagogue, and I teach the little 4-year-olds. I've decided that teenagers like I have are a little bit too hard for me to manage, but I like the little 4-year-olds. And my teenagers teach with me. My children are 15 and 13, so they teach with me. So it's something that we can do together as a family.